some people are really passionate in solving the world's biggest problems. I've always been very passionate about discovering principles and turning those principles into simple, practical methods that can help individuals and organizations solve their own biggest problems. It doesn't matter which system or which part of the system I'm looking at, the goal should be very clear, is how do we meet the committed demand? Not just the average demand that's placed on my department or organization, but the peaks in demand, and how to do it as effectively and efficiently as possible. How do I do that? Because I now have multiple objectives to achieve, and the key insight here is focus just on flow. If I can reduce the flow time, increase the flow rate, my costs will improve, my quality will improve, everything improves by improving flow. So I have this objective of improving and synchronized flow. I look at the part that's going well, and I look at the part where I'm losing time or capacity. So I looked at planning mistakes. Planning decisions are simply decisions I make before I start to work. So what's the first mistake I can make? Is I can misallocate resources. I can allocate resources long ahead of time based on forecast and then be stuck with the wrong resources in the wrong place. Or I can do local buffers and then end up wasting those buffers. So as a result, I need a practical mechanism that will allow me to dynamically allocate resources based on where it's really needed and to allocate my buffers in a way that I can aggregate it to protect the whole system. Second mistake I can make in planning is ignoring backlog when I make commitments. I can't quote 30 days lead time if I have a backlog of 60 days, right? I have to consider the backlog when I'm making commitments, and I have to control the release of work into the system to control my WIP and lead times. So as a result, I need a mechanism to quote based on the planned load or backload that's already in there and to release in a prioritized way while controlling the WIP. Execution decisions are those decisions I make while I'm doing work. And again, the mistakes I can make there is to decide locally what priority I'm going to follow, to multitask, to batch. So again, I need a practical mechanism to provide a single priority system throughout the whole system and discourage batching and multitasking, single piece flow. Do one thing at a time, finish it. The other part in execution is either too much or too little expediting and dishonest reporting, saying that I'm 80% complete because 80% of the time have passed, rather than thinking about how much work is still remaining. As long as I'm dishonestly reporting, I'm making it impossible for people to judge if we're doing okay or not and knowing what corrective actions to take. So that's an execution, and the last one is the measurement and improvement side. What's the mistakes I can make there is I can measure everything. Every single variance is important, and I'm distracting continuously my top management, paying attention to noise rather than signal. So I need a very practical mechanism of how to know what to measure and what not, and how to differentiate between noise and signal. And then the last one is any local optimization actions resulting in unbalanced demand versus supply. So I need a focusing mechanism that can continuously rebalance supply and demand. So these are the generic principles. What we do is we take those and we convert them into practical applications. Principles are universal. Practices or applications are specific. They are designed to fit certain environments. They have boundary conditions in which they work. So don't argue about lean or TOC, or argue about which one works best within the boundary conditions that I face.